Brought to you by Blizzard and GameStar. We're heading into map number 4, which is Neon Violet Square, for another ZVP between Ice and MightyKiwi. Ooh, we are currently at 2-1 with Downfall in the lead here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough now for SYF to take it out, but I think they've definitely got a chance. Downfall going to be feeling pretty confident that they'll either be able to take a 3-1 win here or go to that ace match. Now, if we go to an ace match, let's start thinking about that, Seth, because I feel like if Downfall does get there, because Ice might lose this game, then I feel like we see Bliss come out as the ace, and then for SYF, I think Seetha is probably their best player, but I feel like considering the performance that we saw then, Seetha might not be up for a rematch. We could see MightyKiwi play this one and the next map if we get to an ace.
Yeah, my money would be on MightyKiwi as well. I will tell if Downfall can close it out in this match, or if we will in fact get our dream ace match in here as well. The countdown has started. We're loading into this very pink-looking map. It's like pink is a bit of a theme this season. We've got a couple of maps have that rosy hue to them.
I love the aesthetic. It's just so clean, so crisp, and I love some of the stuff that they've got going through the middle of this map as well. We'll be able to talk about that in just a second after we introduce these players, starting with, down here in the bottom right, in the purple, playing for Team Downfall Gaming, it's Ice.
And over in the top left, his opponent in the teal, representing SYF, it's MightyKiwi.
Now this is a crazy map, and I don't envy Ice's position here, having to play against MightyKiwi. I was talking about that a little bit before, but I feel like he'll have some strategy and some build worked out that he'll want to do. Maybe he's going to want to end the game early, Zeph. We might see some strong two-base play, some two-base attack timings. I feel like he's not going to be confident, though, at going toe-to-toe with MightyKiwi as a player in the late stages of the game.
I mean, who would be there? This guy's really, a monster.
This guy's pretty good at StarCraft.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those guys that you definitely have to put a lot of preparation into when you come up against him as part of that Team League roster. And I don't know who you'd even pick as like the guy that's supposed to snipe MightyKiwi. Because to me, he's just such a scary player and one of the best in the region. So let's see what Ice comes up with. I do agree that a good old two-base timing or something would probably serve him best in this scenario. Zergs. Although, you know, I'm actually not sure what MightyKiwi's up to these days. He could himself decide that he doesn't want to go for macro game. Maybe that's a possibility, but at the same time, I feel like MightyKiwi would be acknowledging that, like, yeah, I'm definitely a stronger player here, I feel, so I can probably just play straight up and try and mold to whatever Ice is going to try and throw at me.
Yeah, kind of like MightyKiwi might be treating this game kind of like a ladder game to see what my opponent opens up with. It could be anything really, not quite sure, so just scout very well, move around the map, and if he finds a timing that he can hit, he might pull the trigger and just go for it, or he could just play very passively and look to win in the later stages of the game.
Oh, this poor little probe will get taken out, but Ice does see the gas and the fact that speed is on its way. Nothing surprising there, of course. And in the meantime, Ice back at home. Gonna drop down a robo on that wall there. Definitely not shy about that. It's pretty standard anyway. And grab himself a good old shield battery because they are Protos's best friend.
Yeah, they sure are. I'm not sure how much I like this wall, though, from Ice. I feel like this is pretty vulnerable to Baneling busts and even Roach Ravager attacks, things like that. It's like the jack of all trades, master of none wall, almost, because especially against Ravagers, you'd have a tough time.
Yeah.
Look at that. Both Circlings getting around the wall, actually. They shouldn't do too much. Ice should be able to get his Adept to shade up and just take both of these out. But the great scout coming down from MightyKiwi. Will he be able to see? Well, he sees the pylon on the low ground. Maybe he suspects that there'd be some tech there, but a robotics bay is the tech of choice from Ice. We could either see Disruptors or Colossus. The Warp Prism is on the way, so I'd kind of expect to see Disruptors.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a nice thing to see. I haven't seen too much Disruptor action in this league so far. And MightyKiwi's rolling out with another 4 Lings. He wants to pop back in here and get confirmation of what the tech is. At the same time, he's already started to move that Overlord across, noticing, oh, hey, you actually don't have anything that shoots up, so I'm going to get a scout off pretty much no matter what at this stage.
Alright, so going for a Twilight Council, Gateway, and a Shield Battery at this wall, just to round that out. He's got the Warp Prism out now, and he is going for Disruptors. We don't yet have any Warp Prism speed research up, though. We might see that later on, but it's certainly not required. Ice can't really afford it just yet. Decent wall now. Does have a couple of weak points in it, but they are now nestled towards the back. So now that he's got the resources into the wall, it's looking a lot stronger.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tougher to crack. But the tech has been scouted, of course. And Ice is heading out with his first attack here. He's got 1 Disruptor loaded up into that Warp Prism. And MightyKiwi, on the other hand, what's he got going on? He's got his 3rd base, got a decent number of drones. It looks like he is starting to make a few units.
And he's got some roaches on the way. He's getting another couple of queens here and there, going for missile attacks, getting some upgrades for potentially not just the roaches and ravagers, but also hydralisks later on. That's always a very strong choice. Here comes the first Disruptor, but excellent control from MightyKiwi. Just takes a little bit of damage on that queen and bullies away the Warp Prism for now. Does have speed on it, so Ice can continue to multitask and micro with this. Meanwhile, back at home, he's adding on extra gateways. He might choose to go for that 2 base like we were talking about before.
He's going to come back in again, grabs himself 3 drones and heads back out. If he keeps doing this, that'll definitely add up in terms of the number of worker kills that he'll be getting out here, and that's a nice way to hinder the Zerg coming into the mid game. But I think he might have to do a little bit more than kill a couple of drones here and there. Let's see how long he can keep that Warp Prism going. And what's he moving into at home?
He's going to 2 bases, 7 gateways. He's got the Twilight and a Robo as well. So it's looking pretty much like Ice does want to go 2 base, all in, make a lot of units, and micro his heart out. See if he can get that win. Be very aggressive against the Kiwi Zerg here. I'm loving what he's doing with this Warp Prism. He's forcing out a lot of units, so MightyKiwi doesn't necessarily have as many drones as he would like. He's at 49. Does have that 3rd base, but not a hell of a lot of units at the 3rd. No spines or anything like that just yet. 26 Lings in production. Roach speed and +1 will be finishing 4 here. MightyKiwi now taking a bit of a supply advantage as well.
He's going to move over to this 3rd base location. Catches 3 Adepts, trying to be a little cheeky. Getting a little fresh in this Zergy territory. And Ice pathing his units around those little cubes in the middle of the map. And looking to position to start his main attack here. MightyKiwi's got some okay creep out the front here to try and engage this Protoss on. Can Ice find an angle to actually get in here and make things happen?
He's got to be careful because the Lings can wrap around and they can actually get some decent surrounds if Ice wants to retreat out of the blockers here in the middle. But if Ice can just kind of plan himself in the middle of these squares, then if it goes south, he might be able to recall out and buy himself some time. But he's got to be so careful, Zeph.
Yeah, he really does. And the longer that it takes him to commit here, I feel the longer MightyKiwi has to mass up a force of his own. He's actually a little bit supply blocked at the moment. Got 3 Overlords on the way. Oh.
These new Disruptors are pretty strong. Stalker's blinking in, taking out that Overlord, but a huge run by of Zerglings here is going to wrap around the majority of the Protoss army and forces out the recall, but it lasts a long time. Ouch.
Oh, that's gonna sting. And look how much MightyKiwi has left over. He's gonna chase down this poor Disruptor. Wow. Whoa, that killed a lot. That
escalated quickly.
Yeah, luckily MightyKiwi has a lot left over here as well. He's gonna try his luck up here at the front door.
I feel like Ice
Ice.
should be okay. He's got a couple of disruptors left over. Oh, one of the shots does get wasted, but I don't think that MightyKiwi has enough to end the game just here. He does need a retreat, going for a fourth base, adding on that Hydralis stand, going for +2. So he does need to look to maybe build up a little bit, get to maybe 170 or 180 supply, and make Ice come to him. Because now, making that fourth base, when the Protoss player is still on 2, it kind of puts tension on them, because if you leave the Zerg player alone for too long, then their economy and their units and their army just gets too big for you to deal with. So he's defending and forcing Ice to come to him.
Yeah, Ice taking his next base while he bunches out on the map here a little bit, keeping a presence on the map, which is good. He still has a Warp Prism out as well, so I suppose he has the potential to maybe try and do a bit more harassment with that while he tries to establish that base. At the same time, MightyKiwi's actually going to roll into the main base with an overseer and just double check what Ice's next move is actually going to be. His creep spread's starting to get pretty deadly out the front here as well, so it's going to be a little tricky for Ice to move too close without being found out.
And what has he loaded up in these Overlords, Zev? Those are some Banelings. And a drop went off in the main, so that was just a couple of drones going down to this Disruptor, or a couple of Disruptors. I feel like MightyKiwi, he'll be maxed out in about a minute or so. He'll have a lot of Banes. He'll have speed. That's just about to finish up with the +2. If he can get a decent position here on this Protoss army and dunk some of those Banelings on everything, that's a lot of light units, and everything will explode almost as fast as if they were hit by a Disruptor.
Yeah, you're not wrong. 11 more Banelings morphing, and the +2 finishing up. And, oh man, the carnage. Those Disruptors.
That first shot was good.
Yeah. Oh gosh, the Bane Rain. It's ready to rock and roll. Some force fields go down from Ice already, and he's tucking himself into a corner, looking for a good position to engage in. But the Zerg has a decent concave. The Bane Rain is coming down. There's so many more coming in that he loses half his army to that Baneling splash.
Oh my god, that fight was beautiful for MightyKiwi, and so many units are falling. The splash damage was absolutely massive. The fourth base, or the third from Ice, is being taken out, and Ice plummets in supply, while MightyKiwi still has a lot left over. 91 army supply to just 16 from Ice. Even the probe's being pulled off the line, and it looks like MightyKiwi is going to bring us to an ace match.
It does indeed. GG comes out from Ice. MightyKiwi tying it up with the 2-2. We get our ace match. Delicious.
The mightiest of the Kiwis does tie it up, and now things get interesting. Because we talked about it a little bit before the game, but who do the teams bring out for their ace? We're tied 2-2. The ace map, let me just double check what it's going to be. It's going to be Blackpink.
Blackpink.
Pretty standard map. I feel like we could see a Terran, but I'd be, especially after a performance like that, I wouldn't be surprised to see MightyKiwi again.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic choice for an ace match. And like you mentioned earlier, Blisk for Downfall is hard to look past as well. Guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll see which players these teams are going to choose for us to play out this ace match on the final map for the night, and see which team is going to take the lead in the scoreboard. Remember, these guys are currently 2 wins apiece. Looking really good here in week 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great. Guys, we'll be back soon. Don't go away.